I do want to take you out to New York a bit earlier today. We heard from Zohran Mamdani. Of course, he is the New York City mayor-elect. He made some comments there. Let's listen into that here on Live Now from Fox.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right. We are gathered this morning in Lower Manhattan, a borough where average rents recently hit their all-time high, with a nearly 10% surge above last year's average. And this story is the same across the city that we call home. Higher prices, fewer available units, virtually nothing on the market for working people. Hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers are just one rent hike, one medical emergency, one layoff from joining the ranks of the homeless in our city, which have swelled to the greatest numbers since the Great Depression. There is good news, however. There has never been more consensus across the ideological spectrum that we are indeed in a housing crisis and the deep necessity of building more housing across these 5 boroughs. So today, I am meeting with 2 sets of stakeholders who I believe can share key insights into how we've arrived at this point and how we can move forward to a dynamic, growing, and affordable city. I just left a meeting with business leaders in real estate who are investing in and building projects across the 5 boroughs. And I spoke not only about my continued commitment to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, but also my commitment to asking and understanding the roadblocks that they have faced in building more housing across this city, and how we can ensure deeper levels of affordability, how we can partner in advocating for the resources this city deserves from the federal administration. And I ensured that my door to their feedback, their concerns, and to identifying areas of collaboration will always remain open. Later today, I will meet with New Yorkers who have not been so fortunate. New Yorkers who have directly experienced homelessness, and some of the advocates who have spent years in fighting for the dignity of those sets of New Yorkers. I will ask them to share their perspectives, their insights, their recommendations as well. And more than anyone, these New Yorkers have viscerally experienced the central contradiction of our time, that we live in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country, in the history of the world, and yet it is increasingly unlivable for many. I look forward to continuing these conversations over the next weeks of this transition and as the next mayor of this city. Addressing the housing crisis is going to take all of us, and I am committed to that work. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with some on topics about the meeting and housing. Yeah, Nick.
Hey, how's it going? You know, one point that was shared in the meeting was within the conversation around what the public sector can do better. It's something that I've spoken about over the course of this campaign, the deep necessity to make sure that this is the most efficient and the most excellent city government that this city has seen. And one example that was raised was that you have to go to 4 to 6 agencies just to be able to fill a tree pit in this city. And that is an example of how difficult we have made it to do some of the most basic things. And I shared my belief in the necessity of us working together to ensure that we have a workable housing system, to ensure that we take on things that we have become too complacent with. For example, that it takes 252 days on average to fill an affordable housing unit, which in the most expensive city in the United States of America should be the easiest thing that we do. And I opened the discussion up to each and every person that was there to hear their ideas on what we could be doing better, how we could be working together. Because no matter our differing opinions on politics at large, New Yorkers as a whole are all invested in the welfare and the future of this city. And that is no different at the table that we were at. And I appreciated the New Yorkers who helped us to convene that discussion, in Emma Foman from the Association for a Better New York, and Kathy Wild and Stephen Fulop from the Partnership for the City of New York, as well as in my own team that helped to bring that discussion together.
Did members of
How you doing?
Did members of the real estate community bring up your recent commitment to do away with homeless encampment sweeps in an effort to better flesh out your position, because I think it's being caricatured a little bit by the conservative right. Where do you draw the line with ending sweeps? For example, if someone takes over half a subway car or obstructs the entirety of a sidewalk, even then are you opposed to an encampment sweep?
What I'm opposed to is the failure that we've seen to characterize the Adams administration's approach to this. What I'm opposed to is looking at an entire calendar year and seeing the Adams administration be unable to connect a single homeless New Yorker that was affected by those sweeps to permanent housing. And in this conversation, what I spoke about with leaders within the real estate industry was the importance of us reducing the timeline of getting New Yorkers into affordable housing, because we cannot actually disentangle the question that we are speaking about right now with the 252 days that it takes to fill one of those units, because the quicker we can fill those units, the fewer New Yorkers we will have living outside. There is no question that these are not conditions that we are standing in right now that any New Yorker should be living in. The question, however, is whether we will be satisfied by just shuttling those New Yorkers to another equally cold place in our city, or whether we want to connect them to housing.
But I think New Yorkers are wondering, in that very specific scenario where there is where something affecting quality of life, what does Mayor Mamdani do?
Mayor Mamdani ensures that we connect those New Yorkers with actual housing. We cannot allow ourselves to become complacent with what has become the norm in this city. And that doesn't mean leaving New Yorkers to sleep in the cold. It means connecting those New Yorkers with a place that they can actually be warm.
Yeah, Dana.
Oh, mine was off topic. So was mine.
Oh, we can.
Oh, sorry. Got you. Hi.
We'll just go with
And then
her.
we'll go to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm
Hi.
So
How are you?
Given your sort of proven ability to raise prolifically from small donors, I was curious why your transition has sort of gone to sort of big donor events. I mean, why is that an important thing as far as transition?
We are looking to raise the money necessary to have a successful transition and to be ready on day one to deliver on the needs for working New Yorkers. And unlike in the primary and in the general, there are no public matching funds in this period. And so it is every dollar that has to be raised of the $4 million we have to has to be raised privately. And I've been proud to raise more than 95% of that money from donations of less than $250 for more than 30,000 people across the city and across the country.
Yeah, we'll go right behind you.
Well, Henry WBI, Mayor-elect, early before the First World War, a Republican government imposed a 10-cent per $100 tax on stock transfers. It collected millions and millions over many years. In the early 1980s, neoliberals, Democrats were worried Wall Street might leave whenever. They started rebating it back. Since that time, $600 billion has been rebated back to Wall Street. And London's had something like this on the books. They called it Tobin tax for centuries. Isn't it time, since Washington funding for all these projects we're talking about is very much up in the air? We're lucky if they don't take $80 million out of the city.
Sorry, do you have a question?
I'm just asking, is it time to stop rebating back billions of dollars to Wall Street?
My focus in raising additional revenue is on raising the personal income taxes for the top 1% of New Yorkers by 2% and increasing the state's top corporate tax to match that of the top tier of New Jersey's corporate tax. And I think that these are critically important as we fight to fully fund our city agencies and fund our affordability agenda. But I do appreciate the context and the importance of us making sure that working class New Yorkers are not being pushed out of the city they call home.
Yeah, thank you. We'll go to Katie right here.
Not end the rebating back. I just want to answer the question. That's all. You don't believe in ending the rebate back to Wall Street.
My focus is on the tax policies I put forward so far.
Katie right here.
Oh, Mayor-elect, this week the Department of Justice put out a memo directing joint terrorism task forces to investigate anti-Trump activists as terrorists. The NYPD has members on joint terrorism task force, another task force. Have you spoken to Commissioner Tisch about the NYPD's potential participation in these types of investigations? And would you reconsider the NYPD's involvement here if it is ordered to investigate anti-Trump activists as terrorists?
I haven't had that conversation yet, but it is one that I will follow up on.
And how do you feel about, is this something that you want the NYPD taking part in, or would you want them maybe to reconsider their relationship with the Joint Terrorism Task Force if this is being ordered?
We need to ensure that all actions of our police department are also looking to safeguard the constitutional rights of New Yorkers and not looking to chill the freedom of expression we have in the city.
Yeah, we'll definitely agree.
The business people that you mentioned this morning, did anybody make commitments to build facilities to specifically house homeless people and all the services and requirements that that?
We spoke more about the importance of building additional housing and how that would address the housing crisis at large across the 5 boroughs.
Right, but anything specific to homeless, given that you want to not, worry about the encampments and until it's way, where would you go without the
We spoke about the key of reducing the 252-day wait on average to fill an affordable housing unit, and how if we can reduce that time, we can actually make it easier to connect homeless New Yorkers with those exact kinds of housing.
Yeah, right.
Good morning, Mayor. Just want to focus on the governor's comments, how she's speaking out against ending the encampment suites. She said that she doesn't believe allowing New Yorkers to sleep on sidewalks and bridges is humane. What's your direct response to that?
I do not think that leaving New Yorkers to sleep in the cold is the answer. I also don't think that pushing those New Yorkers to sleep elsewhere in an equally cold setting is the answer either. I think the answer is connecting those New Yorkers with housing. And what I have said time and again since I was asked this question is that we have to look at the efficacy of the Adams administration's policy on this. It is a policy that did not connect a single New Yorker to permanent housing in an entire year. That cannot be a policy we continue. We have to create a policy that actually puts these New Yorkers in a place that is warm, not a place that is just as cold.
Right, about time for like 2 more.
My policy would look like much of what I've spoken about today, which is actually reducing the wait times of putting New Yorkers into affordable housing units and ensuring that when homeless New Yorkers look at their options, they no longer think that the best option for them is to sleep out on a bench like the one behind me, but is instead to be in a shelter that is safer than the ones that we have today.
Yeah, right behind you, and then right here. Yeah. I'm wondering.
All right, as you see there listening into this question and answer section there from the New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani as he's speaking to reporters there in New York. He's, of course, addressing a lot of things, including the policies that he plans to have once he takes office in the new year.